And we welcome you back into Newsmax Now. I'm John Bachman.
And I'm Miranda Kahn. And it's time for your Monday Roundtable. We're pleased to have with us columnist for FiscalTimes.com, Liz Peek, and State Attorney and former member of the Florida Senate, Dave Ehrenberg. Thanks so much for joining us on this Monday.
Thanks for having us.
All right, let's get started. Dave, we'll start with you. Hillary Clinton's campaign rollout has been anything but low-key. We've seen this very weird media frenzy surrounding her, but how does she regroup from here and make her campaign look more accessible, not just to the media, but to the public?
John, I don't think she needs to regroup. I mean, she is the front runner. She is the only game in town right now for the Democrats, and everyone knows her. She's got 100% name ID. So this is not like the Republicans in New Hampshire fighting for recognition and attention. She's in a different ballpark, and I think she's doing fine. This is a slow boil, and there's a lot that's going to happen between now and November 2016.
But Liz, you have to get, at some point, even if she's not really running in a primary campaign, she could face real blowback in the general election if she doesn't warm up and be more accessible and open. That really is the biggest knock on her right now, right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think the slow boil is like still ice cold. And look, I agree, she's the front runner, but she is leaving the door wide open to being challenged because nothing she has done yet has been in any way noteworthy, interesting. People, even on the left, are beginning to grumble about the lack of policy, the lack of substance. Actually, I wrote a tongue-in-cheek piece about this recently, talking about how the first campaign went too big, too gaudy. This one is so small board that it's putting people to sleep. I think she'll have to run again a third time to get it exactly right, because I think this launch is just absolutely dismal.
A third time. Should be 80-something then. I don't know.
Moving along to our next topic, Valdosta State University received a lot of attention this weekend when officers arrested an Air Force veteran for stopping protesters from desecrating an American flag. Now you can see here the protesters stepping on the flag. This went on for 3 days. Here's cell phone footage of the arrest of Michelle Manhart, an Air Force veteran. Manhart has been banned from campus activities. Your opinion, Dave, should the university be involved at all with this?
Well, you're not going to get me to defend flag burners. I mean, just because it may be protected speech under the Constitution doesn't mean they're right. And by the way, I found it interesting to see how the other media outlets are portraying this. Fox News called it she's a veteran. CNN said that she's an ex-Playboy playmate. So I guess between the two, there's some truth in there. The university is political correctness. That's what it's been for years, and they're going to make sure that they are protecting the students. Ultimately, I think that the university probably should have made a stronger statement against flag burning, because it is despicable behavior, even though it is protected by the Constitution.
Of course, I imagine that the police department there at Valdosta State University could hide behind the fact that they were scared that some incident may happen there, or violence. I don't know what you do here, but Liz, what's your take?
Well, I think that's exactly right. I mean, they are trying to protect their students, so to let this demonstration go on unchecked for 3 days, which obviously is a pretty emotional sort of confrontation with anyone who's been in the military or has lost someone, heaven forbid, in Iraq or Afghanistan. Look, there's no good news here, right? I mean, the students were wrong, in my view, to protest in this fashion, though I agree it's legally protected. The university could well have stepped in earlier and should have.
Well, I think this also goes to show us, I mean, this isn't Cal Berkeley. This is not, some Sarah Lawrence College or Brown someplace where you'd expect this type of behavior from a very liberal student body. But we've often talked on this program about the infiltration on these college campuses of folks who would do stuff like this. And of course, Dave mentioned this. It is protected speech to burn the U.S. flag. But how far do you let it go for 3 days? Dave, go ahead.
No, you got a point. 3 days, and this was coming to a halt on that day where you had police get involved and had to take the veteran to the ground, and it was sad to see, because it probably didn't have to escalate to that point. The university should have gotten involved at the onset, but they let it keep simmering until someone from the public got involved, and at that point it was more dangerous to the student body than if the faculty, the administration would have gone out of their way to get involved early on and stop, at least try to mollify things from the beginning. by waiting, by the way, they helped create this mess.
Yeah, it's a mess, all right. We'll see what happens, and I'm sure more will come out of this. But let's turn our attention now to the date, that being April 20th, or for some folks out there, the unofficial National Marijuana Day. Let's take a listen from D.C.'s police chief, Kathy Lanier. She has to deal with this now. Quote, marijuana smokers are not going to attack and kill a cop. They just want to get a bag of chips and relax. Alcohol is a much bigger problem. Of course, we know Rand Paul, Cory Booker. There's a movement in the Senate about mandatory marijuana convictions and sentences. Dave Ehrenberg, this is something you have to deal with as a state attorney here. What's your take on what the police chief of Washington, D.C. said?
Well, she's saying things that are being spoken by most Americans these days. I mean, I hear this all the time on the streets and talking to people. What's interesting about this bill, though, is that it would, for the first time, it would change the scheduling of marijuana from Schedule 1. When it's Schedule 1, it says there is no medicinal value whatsoever, and make it Schedule 2. And that would change a lot. For example, right now, marijuana may be legal in certain states, but not really, because the federal government can raid these facilities. They could arrest everyone because it's still illegal under federal law. The federal government is just looking the other way. So this would go a long way towards empowering states to regulate it on their own.
Dr. Sanjay Gupta, a medical correspondent for CNN, said that he supports medical use of marijuana. Liz, what's your take?
I think it's a reasonable approach. I mean, there clearly is evidence that for lots of kinds of diseases, medical marijuana is very effective. Why not let people access that? I am not so in favor of commercial, recreational permission to use marijuana, because I don't think we know quite enough about how today's marijuana really does affect young people in particular. In fact, what we do know, thanks to finally a very large study of it, is that it really has long-term impact on teenagers who start smoking marijuana on a daily basis. So I'm not in favor of recreational use being permitted. You know, that's up to the states, I think. I think that it's a mess now because, as you point out, the federal government makes it difficult to, for example, bank the money that, for example, in Colorado they're bringing in. But medical marijuana use, I think it should be regulated by doctors and allowed to go forward. I don't see any problem with that.
What a novel idea, Liz, letting the doctors weigh in. And Dave, I wanted to ask you this too, because Liz mentioned the legal recreational aspects of all this. We see this in Washington State and Colorado and other places may follow suit. Do you think that is going to help law enforcement officials like yourself?
There's a difference of opinion in my office. I can speak personally as to whether or not we support the medicinal marijuana laws. As far as recreational, our office would oppose that. But the medicinal marijuana went on the ballot here in Florida, and it just barely failed. And I think next time it may pass. There's a difference of opinion. Some people think it'll help reduce our focus on minor crimes. Some other people think there'll be additional crimes to chase after relating to marijuana use, especially as it goes towards kids.
Yeah, and Liz, what's your take? Are we basically, is it just like the end of prohibition with alcohol when it comes to pot in this country?
Well, I've written about this. I really don't think the two are the same because, again, marijuana use can lead to long-term impairment of brain function in young people. And I understand that long-term alcohol I think it's yet to be resolved. We need to know more. And the arguments for doing it have largely been spurious, i.e. to generate tax revenues.
Yeah.
There are other ways to generate tax revenues.
That's true.
And to cut down on nonviolent crime, that one I'm open to.
Well,
Liz
everybody
Peek.
would like less violent crime. Liz Peek, Dave Ehrenberg, thanks so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
More to come.